Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's I'm going to be reviewing a Ford Bronco Wildtrak two-door. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Ken Gar Ford here in American Fork, Utah for giving me some time with this Bronco. I'm going to include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions, just ask for Kellen. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a turbocharged 2.7 liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy with this is 17 around town and then 17 on the highway, and then power outputs are 330 horsepower and then 415 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go with the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now, taking a look at the hood, it's pretty much the normal Bronco hood, but you notice that we have this cool Wildtrak decal there at the top, and then notice that the mirrors are attached to the body in normal Bronco fashion. We've got these cool LED headlamps, then you guys can see the Bronco logo there in white, and then we've got the cool bar there. I think that just adds to the overall look. And then you guys can see we do have the upgraded bumper here at the Wildtrak, parking sensors in the front end, and we got recovery points as well. And when you put it all together, the Wildtrak just has such a cool look. Cover on the side here, our tire and wheel setup is 315/70/17 in the front and over in the rear. And then you guys can see the wheels themselves completely blacked out, and again, just adds to the overall sporty look of this. Now, a big part of the new Wildtrak is the fact that it has Fox shocks, you guys can see in there. And these are supposed to help out with damping quite a bit more compared to the Bilstein position sensitive shocks. Now, we also have this giant fender flare here. You guys can see Wildtrak Sasquatch on the side. And then notice like the door handles, fender flare, mirror caps, all that are the same color. And then here's your full side view. It has that cool retro off-roader appearance because it's a two-door. Now, here's a quick look at the key fob. We have our unlock function or lock function or remote start, and then the Bronco logo there on the back. And speaking of the back, of course, we have the Bronco's famous multiple compression tailgate, which, yeah, pretty easy to use. And then you guys can see the window pops open. And with the two-door, well, let's go over this. So space behind the second row is a little bit on the cramped side, and that's one of the downsides of getting a two-door Bronco versus a four-door. But you guys can see with the seats folded down, the storage space back here is actually quite large. And then we do have it painted here in the back, which also kind of adds to the fun factor. And when you're all done, of course, close the glass first and then tailgates second. Really light. Now, here's a quick look at the taillights. You've got LEDs back here. You do have parking sensors on the rear bumper, and interesting, that one's not as hardcore as the front bumper. You do have a tow hook there on the back, recovery hook rather, and then the full spare 35 on the back, which also just adds to the cool look. And then we do have to dive underneath so you guys can see, I'll kind of see, I guess, the shocks here in the rear. They're also Fox shocks. But anyways, putting it all together, let me know what you guys think about the overall looks here of the Bronco. Now, taking a look at the front door panel, you guys can see here with the soft touch and then the padding down below, you'd rest your arm. And then I love how the white is inside, so that looks really cool. And then you got your grab handle, you've got little netting down below, and then of course, again, the mirrors that are attached to the body. And I like how it's just an extended Bronco door panel. Like the four-door just ends here, but this obviously, you know, pops out a little bit. Now, for those of you wondering, payload capacity is 851 pounds, which is identical to a Jeep Wrangler. And then you guys can see the seats here, really cool. Look at the Bronco horse. Yeah, I like the two-tone design. The seats are manually adjustable here in the two-door. And then you got this to pop the hood. You guys can see for the parking brake, your light controls, and then the mirror lights. And then the steering wheel is also manually adjustable, and then we got this nice grab handle. Now, taking a look at the steering wheel, we've got really nice trim all around, darker stitching there on the center portion. We've got some controls here for the center stack. We have adaptive cruise control as well as volume controls here, and then of course the Bronco horse front and center. And then we have our turn signal windshield wiper stock. Now, here is the gauge cluster for the Wildtrak. You got the analog gauge off to the side, and then you've got this screen here which lets you see a bunch of different bits of info on the Bronco. Now, the next thing is the drive modes. With the Wildtrak, we have our normal mode, eco, we've got a sport, slippery, mud ruts, sand, and then a Baja mode. No rock crawl mode, even though you could rock crawl with this, but again, that's not what the Wildtrak's about. I do like this coloration on the dash that kind of matches with what's on the seats. Now that we have the brightness up a ton, we can actually see we've got front rear lockers, trail turn assist, stability control, hazard lights. No stabilizer bar disconnect. That's one of the biggest differences between this and a Badlands. Obviously the shocks are the other difference. Now in reverse, you guys can see we've got a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn at the steering wheel. This also has the 360 camera system, and if we do the camera button, you can see that pops on. This is still better than the Wrangler's camera. I've had a chance to review a few 24 Wranglers, and although they have a bigger infotainment system, the camera view is not any bigger, so I still feel like Ford's camera system here is a little bit better. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, it responds well. You guys can see just quick with the overall response time, easy to use. I like you can like transfer things over, which is kind of another cool part of it. But yeah, easy to use, and there's not much else to say on that. I like how we have like blue there on the vent. I think that's cool. Anyways, analog controls here for the radio down below, the climate controls. We also have like for the camera button, your auto stop start. We have heated seats and heated steering wheel, which is another nice feature. And then you guys can see the wireless phone charging pad, and then little USB action there. And of course the little Bronco plaque with another grab handle, more blue. Shifter here for that 10-speed automatic. It does have a manual function. Got plus and minus there on the side to do all of that. And then we have our drive line / drive mode select. So you twist it for the drive modes, you push the buttons for the drive line select, and that's your off-road cruise control in the very center. And we've got our window controls here in the center, automatic, and then you guys can see with the mirror adjustments. And then, yeah, good storage space here in the center console. Nice padding here on the top. And then with the glove box, yeah, pretty spacious. It says Bronco there, which is kind of a cool thing. And then we do have, well, it's kind of hard to see, but 6 auxiliary switches up top, and then we do have some good insulation up here. You do have these pieces to kind of move if you want to do this part. With the back, you do have to use tools. Now taking a look at the window sticker here, you guys can see again 2023 Wildtrak. Standard equipment. We've got some options added to this one, so this is a high package, so it's pretty much fully loaded. There's the rest of the options. You can see base MSRP is $55,830, but after options, this sticker's for $65,645. And let's see how it drives. Talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors. Just do a blind spot monitoring, and I actually have to click that mirror out and through the rest of the rear. I guess we're doing one of these. I forgot that mirror is kind of pushed in a little bit. Okay, there we go. So now with all of that being taken care of, let us set off. So I've reviewed a Wildtrak with a new Haas suspension. That was a 4-door. I'm interested to see kind of how the 2-door feels with this suspension. That's the main reason why I wanted to do this review. And if you guys follow the channel, you know I'm just a big Bronco and Wrangler enthusiast. So it's always, you know, if there's a new package that I can figure out how to make a video out of, I'll do it, because it's always just fun to review these vehicles. So first off, I will say I'm a huge fan of the 2.7 and frankly the 2.3 in the Bronco. They're such strong engines, and I mean on the low end when you're just kind of going around like in this parking lot, it just has so much torque that you just barely have to get into it. Whereas like the Jeep with like the 3.6 liter V6 like that, I feel like you always have to get into it quite a bit. The 2.0 turbo is a lot better, but I'd rather have the 2.3 in the Bronco than the 2.0 turbo, which is kind of my take on that. And the Bronco seats are also really comfortable. I'd say they're more comfortable than the seats in the Wrangler. I just reviewed like a couple Wranglers yesterday, including a Rubicon, and I just think these seats are a little bit more comfortable overall. Okay, so the next thing is obviously how this drives, and ride quality is really good. That's one of the things I really like about Fox shocks. So Bilstein shocks are always kind of like a little bit firmer, so it's not like an uncomfortable ride, but it's stiffer. Whereas this, you get more compression just all the time, and so it just leads to a smoother ride. I am definitely, that Tesla just ran it. You guys see that? They just ran a stop sign. Tesla owners. Anyways, we'll get into it a little bit here. Yeah, the V6 is powerful. I mean, it moves this. It moves it very well. But again, this is more about, I wanted to kind of see more about how this rides. I've reviewed the 2.7 so many times. When it comes to the ride quality, it's good. The damping's very good over bumps and everything. And this part of the road's kind of bumpy a little bit. Yeah, it just soaks everything up so well. It's impressive, honestly. The damping's, I would say, a lot better The damping on this, I would say, is a lot better than what you have with the Bilstein shocks. I do like those Bilstein shocks a lot, but these just, I guess these are more comfortable, and it makes sense, right? This is supposed to be the high-speed package, whereas the Broncos with the Bilstein shocks, there's you know, they can do high-speed off-roading, but they're supposed to be kind of more, you know, rock crawling and middle speed. So something's up. I think this thing looks really cool. I love the Fox shocks. It does help out the ride on-road, and I'm sure that this will also help out with the ride off-road as well, because they kind of transfer. And, you know, when it comes to the Wildtrak two-door, I think this vehicle is crazy, because the Wildtrak's supposed to be about high-speed off-roading, and like shorter wheelbase, smaller vehicle, you're not gonna have as much stability. So that's the one thing that's weird about this. But at the same time, it has the cool iconic look. I'm glad that Ford makes it. And I'm sure that there's people out there that just, they want two-door everything. Like, people would even want a two-door Bronco Raptor, even though that would not make any sense whatsoever. There's still people out there that would want a two-door Bronco Raptor. So let me know what you guys think. I'm a huge fan of the Haas suspension. I think it was that one. No, maybe it wasn't. I'm trying to remember where this was parked. Huge fan of this suspension. Big fan of the new Bronco in general. And I guess it was right there. I guess my little hot take for today. This compared to the 24 Wrangler, I think that the Bronco, with the MSRP pricing that Ford has in the Broncos, I still think it's a better value than the Wrangler, because although Jeep refreshed the Wrangler, it's still way more expensive. I mean, this $65,000 buys you this fully loaded Wildtrak. I mean, it is a two-door, right? But I mean, if you wanted the same thing from Jeep, you're still spending over 70, yeah, you're gonna spend like pretty much $70,000, and you're gonna have a less powerful engine. So there's my hot take, as I still think the Broncos, with the MSRP prices compared with the two manufacturers, I think it's a better value. But let me know your thoughts.